This video was originally going to be about me working on my first real conversion, but it ended up being more about learning to overcome obstacles and realizing some things about the hobby. I could tell you about how I went about finding this mini, the learning curve that I went through with figuring out how to fit mismatched parts together and crafting with Milliput, what was successful and what I failed at, the lows that I went through as I wrestled with trying different paint techniques and color schemes. But what I really want to talk about is the struggle with completing this project. When I was working on the conversion part, I knew that there would be parts that I would have problems with. As with any new things, there's a process of trial and error, and that didn't really discourage me. I found it a fun challenge and maybe even a new favorite thing in the hobby. Where I really hit a wall was in the painting. I tried some new methods that, when I finished, looked like I hadn't really painted anything at all or just looked flat and boring. So I tried to paint in a way that I was more familiar with. That also ended up looking really bad. I then started to overcompensate for the flaws, making a bigger mess. Even the brush techniques were bad. I always like and want to try new things with each mini, but these were all turning out very poorly. Each stumble building to my frustration, agitating me that I couldn't fulfill my vision for this model, so much so that I turned my camera off. I know as someone that makes videos that it's something you're never supposed to do, but I just couldn't. A project that I was so excited for, that I had such a clear vision of, was frustrating me to the point that I just wanted to walk away from it, to put it on the shelf and come back to it later. But I knew that if I did that, I would most likely never pick it back up again. So I sat down and thought for a while, and I finally decided that I was going to take a day and not worry about filming, not put any brain power towards what shots I needed or if something was in focus, just sit down and paint. And that's what I did. I got rid of all my paints that were on my wet palette, and I started fresh. Slowly, but still not really the way I wanted, things started to come together. And that's when I started to mull things over. This project started to make me think about why people hobby, why we do what we do when there are things about it that inevitably frustrate us or cause us to lose interest. And naturally that answer is different for everyone, just like why we're in the hobby in the first place. Some people are in it for the gaming, they don't care if they have painted models. Some people are in it for painting, or collecting, assembly, relaxation, creative outlet, terrain, on and on. And I think we all have these hurdles as well, those things that slow us down or trip us up. And for me, it was this model overall. Maybe I had too much invested in it from the beginning, too grand a vision for what my current skill set was available to deliver, or maybe just the mini wasn't right for me. Occasionally, I think that happens to us all. There's something that we really want to do or achieve, or a specific model that we really want to work on, and everything seems to work against us while we're doing it. And that's when we're left to ask ourselves, do I leave it or do I persevere? And we each have to make our own answer to this. And I don't think that there's a wrong one, because everybody's got to find what's true for them, even in something as inconsequential as putting paint on a mini. But there can be something said for sticking with it. I think that if we do that, even if it ends up being a failure, we can learn something from it, and the next time we might be more likely to push through the hard parts. In the end, I stopped worrying about creating the model that I thought it should be and let it become its own thing. And in its own way, that created a sense of freedom. I quit worrying about making a good paint job or something that would appeal to a crowd, and just let my brush move, the paint to flow, and the muse to take me where it might. What this ended up teaching me in the end is not to be concerned with what painting is supposed to be. that painting can be anything, and as long as you're putting your brush on plastic, you're not making a wrong decision. And this might be a turning point for me in how I paint minis. I think from now on I'm going to be more concerned with being creative than I am about painting the right way. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you ever run into the same problem, sometimes just jumping over the hurdle won't work. Sometimes you have to go around or under or even through it. Sometimes you have to burn it down or blow it up. Shoot it with your bolter or cut it with a sword. Get creative with your problem solving. Don't give up and don't worry that you might be the only one struggling, because you're not. We all do. Keep at it and keep trying, because you never know what the end result might be.